All right, so you want to do a project, you need to do some digging, you want to lay it out and make a square. Maybe you're doing a foundation, maybe you're doing a deck, lots of options. As you can see, we've already excavated some of our project, but I'm going to show you how we got there. So from your local big box store, you can buy a bundle of stakes like this. They're about 2 feet long. Pointed on one end, they're 2x2s. These are great, they're made for marking. What we're going to do is we're going to find a starting point. In this case, ours is at the house. You drive the 4 corners so that you have your outer dimensions of whatever you're building, or at least the footprint. So I've got just a couple of simple reference stakes right at the house, and then I came out, drive the stake in at the corner. Don't sink it to the earth core. You don't have to get it that deep. You just have to get it stable and as close to vertical as possible, because we do have to use this as a reference point. If it's leaning off to the side, it's not going to be true. So you want it pretty close to vertical. If you need a small level to do that, go ahead and do that. Drive the 4 corners. Now, there's a variety of tape measures you can use. I've got a 25-footer, which is actually what we laid out with. I also can get a 100-foot tape measure. They're available for nominal cost at most hardware stores as well. 100-footers are great. They're kind of the preferred layout tool. Once you have your stake in place, you can measure out the outer perimeter, figure out what you want to get, drive your second stake here, and then once that's in place, you can determine if everything is square. I'm going to show you how to do that quick. Alright, so I've got my 4 corner stakes in. Some of them are kind of tall. If you're having trouble getting them vertical or true, you could cut them off a little shorter so you don't have to pound them as deep and not be able to extract them later. You need to be able to get them pretty close to the grade. We're going to measure the 45 to make sure that we have a perfect square. Alright, I'm 20'6". And we're really close. We're 20'7", so we're just a little bit off. I know at least one of these posts is leaning because, again, they're kind of tall and I don't have a level out here, but we're really close. So I'm going to go on and show you how the batter boards work now that we have our corner posts in. So the posts get placed to mark the actual corners of your project. The batter boards are there to create a center, or an X, get back vampires, an X over your post, so that the post can be removed and the center point will always be there. So batter boards, grab a couple of more stakes, simply get tacked in, and these are going to stay up throughout the project, so give yourself some space. Alright, so because I know that I'm using crusty old cedar that splits very easily, I'm actually going to pre-drill, if I can get a drill bit out, before I put my screws in. Just because I know that this board's going to split and it's going to be a point of frustration and I'll have to redo it. So we're going to pre-drill first. And that will ensure that our board doesn't split and that we get a firm connection. You might be tempted to put that bit in your mouth. It's going to be hot. Don't do it. Set it aside where you won't lose it in the grass. All right. Now if you need to later, you can go back and true these up. If you use a 1x4 material, you'll actually have enough space in the material that if you needed to adjust your lines to get them level, you can put a screw in the face and then bring the line down and wrap it around, and you'll be able to level your lines better. That'll make it easier in the long run. Otherwise, as you're going, you're going to have to kind of get these closer by leveling with the string. So we got our first batter board now. So we're going to do batter board number 2, and then we'll be able to pull our line across and true it up. Alright, so again, don't go right on top of where you're going to be digging, because it's just going to be a point of frustration for you. So give yourself some space. But do try to line up to where your other batter board is going to be. Now, if you go to line up your line and it's way out of level, you can readjust these screws and lower it down. This is just an initial eyeball to make sure your line is lined up. Alright, so we're going to get our line. We've got this mason line or mason string. We can start with a weight. I'm actually just going to hook my tape measure on it for now. That'll give me something to pull on. Once you get your full layout done, you can make permanent weights. You can use blocks of wood, rocks. You can just tie it off to the batter board. So you want this line to go over the center. And it looks like I'm a little bit off over there. Theresa, could you pull it towards the street just a 1/4 of an inch maybe? Yeah, that looks real good. So here's where having the same size corner stakes comes in handy, because you'll know exactly when you're over center. So now you got this direction. We're going to go the other direction. One of the tricks that I've learned, you can take a knife and very carefully notch where your string goes. That way, anytime you pull your string off, you can drop it into that notch. It'll always be in the right spot. People mark on these. They'll mark their measurements so that they're always present. You just glance at the batter board, see, oh, hey, this is 57 inches from there, and you're good to go. With the batter boards in the other direction, we would do a pair here that run back to a pair, or at least to a single stake at the wall, and then we get our cross. We can pull the corner stakes and we're ready to dig. When we're actually ready to dig, we just grab our lines and pull them aside, do our digging, and then we go to lay out our foundation or our footings or whatever we're going to do. We bring this line back, drop it into the notch, and we're all set. Everything's perfect. And if you've taken the time to level this, if you're going to be doing a hard surface like doing a slab, or you're going to do a patio, you can get one of these little levels. You can bring it over here and hook it on your string. I have no idea if this is level because we just dropped it, and it's actually almost perfect. So not bad for doing it by eye. So that little level tells us that that string is perfect. So now that we know that this is level, we'll take this off so it's not pulling on our string. We've got a perfectly horizontal, perfectly level reference point that we know we can measure from here to grade, and then we can know how far we need to dig. For our patio, we're going down 2 inches and then 1 inch for sand. So we're going to go down 3 inches. Obviously, we've got more excavated here because we're going to be doing a drain tile, which we just haven't pulled the soil back yet. This is the basic outline of our patio. But if you had to have a footing and had to have a specific height for your footing, or you want them all to be the same height for putting up a deck, you can measure from your string and just measure down to the top of your sauna tube, level them so that they're set there. When you fill them up with concrete, all your footings will be level and you'll be that much further ahead for your deck. Put as many of these batter boards as you need. You can put them out for all of your footings. You can measure off from each point and get your footings. It's just a great way to get everything in a straight line, square, and then have a reference to grade. This is Christopher with Honest Home Inspection, at home with you. Stop smirking at me.